What is going on, everyone? This is Zach back here with another episode of Clutch Crew Sports. And here in today's episode, we are going to have part one or episode one of our 2021 NFL mock expansion series. So I'm going to get into the details about it later on in the podcast, but this is just episode one of that. Hopefully, you guys enjoy. Instead of doing a bunch of NFL season previews, we thought it'd be different to come up with a mock expansion to the NFL, since I know there's some people have been talking about expansion going on in other sports, and they brought up the NFL as well. So we figured we would each be owners and make our own teams. So hopefully you guys enjoy this concept of an episode. And yeah, let me introduce you now to the rest of the crew.
What's going on, guys? Eric, your ranting co-host here. I was very excited when this idea got brought up of doing an expansion team thing. Like, if we were to be able to start our own team, what would it possibly look like? So, I'm excited to bring this two-part series to you guys. So, like Zach said, man, I hope y'all enjoy it.
And what's going on? It's Connor, the co-host with the most, and yeah, I'm super excited about this. I know it took me a little bit to figure out where my team was going to go, but I'm excited for this. I always like doing these drafts that we do on here, so this one in particular I think is going to be interesting because I think there's, definitely a lot of players that we're all probably going to have like similar looks on. So, and then there's probably going to be, I'm sure there's going to end up being at least one situation where someone like, man, like I have no clue who half these people are, and they have to try and draft one of them. So it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Nate here. I know I haven't been around for a couple months. Yeah, I haven't been around for a couple months, but I'm excited to be back. Should be a fun episode tonight. Definitely like fun and different, and I'm looking forward to see who everybody takes.
Yeah, definitely, guys. So, like I said, this is going to be a two-part series. So, this episode we're coming out to you is like episode one. Next week we'll have the conclusion, episode two of the expansion series. So let me kind of set the stage for you all and kind of explain how this expansion started. So, basically, Clutch Crew Sports is the podcast that you're listening to right now, and overnight it just blew up, went viral all over Twitter, because Twitter is mainly our main social media platform. Twitter blew up, 100,000 retweets over a night. Anchor decided to feature us on their main podcast. We're their main number one podcast now. And with that, we got a lot of money, and we got so much
Why
money.
haven't I seen this money yet?
All right. Yeah, let's just say I changed the password to our Anchor account, so the money's all mine. But I decided to gift each of you an NFL expansion team. I paid the bill for all four of us guys.
Wow.
Nate,
I
even
see, Connor. That's where the money's
Nice.
at.
There you go.
Nate,
Steve and
even though
I-
you
but-
haven't been on in 2 months, I paid for yours as well.
That's the thing, though, man. I need more of this money, though, because running a team isn't like free either.
Well, we'll have to find another way to do that, pay your players. But yeah, we paid the bills to good old Roger Goodell, and we have now joined the NFL, and we actually paid premium money to join this season. So normally with expansion teams, they figure out they're an expansion team, and a couple of years later they actually start their team. We're not patient enough for that. We paid extra, and we're getting our team right away. So that's why we're doing it right now. And the NFL, they came up with a complicated system, which I'm not going to exactly say how they formed their player pool for us to draft from, but there is a massive player pool, offensive and defensive players that teams had to expose to us. I guess a rule different from other leagues with expansions, though, is there's no limit on how many players get taken by a team. In theory, a team with all their exposed players could have them all taken. There could be a team, maybe a bad team that has bad players exposed, and none of that team's players gets taken. It's all just going to be decided by the draft here. There's no special rules about that. And with the expansion came realignment. So going back to the 90s system here with the East, Central, and West divisions, and we have 6 teams per division now. We tried to keep AFC and NFC teams apart from each other for the most part, and our expansion teams fit into different categories. Mostly they're geographically correct. There's some, weird things, but we have the AFC East, the AFC Central, AFC West, and NFC East, West, Central, and West as well. There is going to be a 20-week season in our league now. So, the players, they were all upset about 18-week season. Well, now it's going to be 20-week season, guys. 10 games versus teams in your division, 6 games versus the conference top 3 teams per division. So based on last year's standings, the top 3 and bottom 3 in each division will play each other per the conference, and then 4 games against the opposing conference per year is how we have it set up right now. These things could change, but this is just, the NFL just decided to do this last minute, so had to come up with some last minute rules for that. 8 teams now make the playoffs per conference, no buys. So kind of like NBA style, you got the 1 to the 8 bracket for each side. The 1 through 3 seeds, the top 3 seeds are division winners, and then the 4 through 8s are the wild cards. So that's how the playoffs are going to work. And yeah, I think that's all that Roger Goodell would talk about. So now let me go and talk about the teams, and we're going to hear from each of the 4 owners today for these new teams. So I will go ahead and start with the introductory. The 33rd team allowed in the NFL, that would be the Oregon Orca. So the Oregon Orca are the 33rd team in the NFL, and they are based out of the city of Portland, but have chosen to go by the state name like Arizona, Tennessee, Minnesota, those sort of teams. They go by the state name, and we wanted to do the same. And I really like team names that are alliterative, so they have the same first letter starting with the city and the team name, so double O, Oregon Orca. And we are respectful of the Portland Trailblazers, so for fans of the Blazers who like that red and black and white color scheme, we're going to keep that on with Portland Sports here. And that's what our logo looks like. We have an orca, kind of biting into a football. Looks real tough and scary. And the Oregon Orca in red text is our logo. We'll be posting all the logos and imagery on Twitter for you to see, by the way. So if you want to actually see what they look like, feel free to follow our Twitter account at clutchcrewsport and look at that. But that's basically the logo. The uniform, home uniform, is going to be red with a black text in Orca over the front of the chest with ORE is Oregon on the sleeves. Like, this is just the first edition of the logo. Things could change and tweak in the future. And then we've got a alternate Orca logo on the where a team patch might go, sort of thing. So that's kind of some basic things about the team, and we did conduct a thorough head coaching search as well, as I'm sure the other owners did as well, and we ended up choosing Byron Leftwich to be our head coach. So Byron Leftwich just won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. We're going to bring that offensive play calling that he had with Tom Brady, bring it over to Oregon and the West Coast, and hopefully that works out. So that is my introduction for the Oregon Orca. And now I will present Eric with his NFL expansion team.
All right, you guys. So since I live in Texas now, I decided that I would have a team in my state. So I have chosen to place a team in San Antonio. And so we are going to be called the San Antonio Alamos. So obviously I picked the name Alamo with being that the Battle of Alamo for the Alamo happened in San Antonio. And also, of course, as a, Tennessee Volunteers fan in college football, I'm a, big fan of Davy Crockett, who went and fought at the Alamo. So I felt like I had, no other choice but to name him that. So I picked my logo there, as you can see, and then I tweaked it on the helmet to kind of go more so with the colors of my team. And like Zach said, with the wanting to do similar with the Portland Trailblazers with Oregon, I wanted to do the same thing with my team. I wanted my team to be similar to the Spurs. So I went with black as the primary and then like a gray secondary. And if you're on YouTube, you can see my uniform here that I designed. I put my Alamo logo on the helmet, and then on the jersey to go with the Alamo name, I put a state of Texas on the like little patch there on the chest shoulder area, and then I've kind of got like a little Longhorn Texas logo on the pants. I was going to go for like a Longhorn stripe down the side of the pants, but I wasn't able to make that work in paint. I don't, Zach mentioned, our teams have been paid for and everything, but I wasn't able to hire a graphic designer yet that has better software. So I had to settle for that. But yeah, so very, very happy with that. I will be featured in the AFC West division. And I went with Eric Bieniemy as my head coach. I like obviously he's had Patrick Mahomes and KC. It obviously helps when you have a great quarterback like that. But I've been a big fan of the schemes and a lot of the plays he's drawn up for them. He comes up with a lot of clever plays and makes the most out of the strengths of his best players and things like that. So I wanted to bring an offensive minded head coach to my team. So yeah, that is the San Antonio Alamos.
Yeah, and quick note about the Oregon Orca. I forgot, I skipped over it. I was talking too much, but I'm going to be in the NFC West division. So natural rivalries with cities like Seattle and San Francisco joining the NFC West. And now let's get on to the next expansion team. Connor, tell us about your team.
Yeah, so the 35th team in the NFL, we have the St. Louis Archers. So I decided that, St. Louis lost their team. The Rams were there for quite a while, but then they eventually moved back to LA. So seems natural that St. Louis would want a football team back. They had the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL, and they were really excited about that. The fans came out for those games, probably more than almost any of the other XFL teams. St. Louis had fans coming out to the games. So got a new NFL team here. Like I said, the St. Louis Archers. Now, my logo is not just a boring old arch, because obviously arch goes with St. Louis. It's the gateway to the West, the big old arch in St. Louis. But it's not just an arch. It's not boring like that. It actually is pretty cool logo. It's got a knight with a bow and arrow and like kind of a shield in the background. So, archer in the sense of someone who does archery, but also still has the name to fit with St. Louis. And unlike Zach and Eric, my team, I'm not going with the same colors as the other team that's here. There's the St. Louis Cardinals are the only sports team left in St. Louis besides me, but we're not red and yellow. Our colors are going to be navy blue with red and gray. So what I did with the jersey, it's going to be primarily navy blue with a red trim, a little bit of red stripes on the top, and also the sleeves are going to be gray and a slight kind of grayish trim as well with the red, and red text with Archers. On the sleeves, we're going to have STL for St. Louis, and I don't have an alternate logo like Zach and Eric do, but I think there's teams like the Steelers that still use their primary logo as their patch on their jersey. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have the primary logo as our patch. Then for head coaching, this might be a little bit of a spoiler for Nate in some way, but I am the only one out of the four of us that went with a defensive coordinator as my head coach. So I went with Matt Eberflus from the Indianapolis Colts. He's done a really good job turning around that defense. The Colts, especially under Peyton Manning, had one of the worst defenses in the league for a really long time. And really, ever since they brought in Eberflus and they drafted Darius Leonard, like it's all gone from there. The Colts have been one of the top defenses for the last 3 years. So in my mind, I'm still old school. Defense wins championships. I mean, we saw it with the Buccaneers this year. Like, even though Byron Leftwich was fantastic with his play calling, I think, the majority of the credit for winning that Super Bowl has to go to the Bucks defense. So that's why I went with Eberflus. And then, just like Zach, this is definitely interesting. I am also going to be in the NFC West, so we're definitely going to have a expansion team rivalry going on there with St. Louis and the Oregon Orca. But the other interesting thing, obviously, about me being in the NFC West is I'm going to have a natural rivalry with the LA Rams, since they were the last team to come from St. Louis. So I'm really excited for a rivalry with those two teams coming up, and hopefully looking for success in the league. And now I'll let Nate introduce his team.
Yeah, so we were obviously given money to buy these expansion teams from the league, but like Connor alluded to earlier, it takes a lot of money to operate a team and pay the players and their contracts and all that. So we managed to get a corporate sponsor to kind of handle that. Papa John Shatner wanted to get back into the football sphere. After his name was taken off the Louisville Cardinal Stadium. So we're bringing pro football to Louisville, and he's going to be our sponsor, so hence the name Louisville Padres. I didn't have the foresight to make a mock-up of a jersey and helmet, but basically our primary colors are red with green secondary trim, and then probably white pants, like as a third color. Then the helmet helmet's basically a logo. It's kind of like how the Browns do it, where the helmet's their logo, and basically would look like what you see there if you're watching on YouTube. So kind of a good way for the Papa to get back into football, and we're hoping to that the inclusion of our team into the league will be a quote-unquote day of reckoning for the other 35 teams in the NFL. But being in Louisville, we're going to compete against teams east of the Appalachians, the AFC East, and as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then for head coach, we went out and got an offensive-minded guy, Brian Dayball. He's done great so far with helping Josh Allen grow into an MVP candidate there in Buffalo, and obviously he had success for all those years as an assistant with the Pats and with Alabama winning a national championship. So we're hoping he can bring some of that winning over here to Louisville.
So, question for Nate: at your stadium, is Papa John's going to be the only food option, or will you have other types of food there?
Probably have a variety there, but they will definitely have a in-stadium restaurant, kind of like the Chick-fil-A in what's that, Atlanta?
Yeah.
But
okay.
if it's like the Chick-fil-A in Atlanta, then it's going to be closed on Sundays, so it won't even be open during the game days.
Right. hopefully not with that part. That will be.
Well, Nate can work out, where he gets a lot of Thursday night and Monday night games, for his home games.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, so that's going to conclude the introductions for our 4 teams. So now you have kind of an idea for the teams that we're going to be drafting for, the actual expansion teams themselves. And now we will go ahead and get over to the draft itself. So the way we're going to be doing this is this episode is going to be a draft for offense only. We're going to do 11 rounds to fill out the 11 starters. After the 11 starters on offense, it's up to free agency in the next draft to fill out your team. But and then next episode, we're going to do 11 rounds of defense. So we're keeping it separate, offense and defense. It's just going to be easier to do it that way. And we are going to do it a snake order. The order was randomly determined. And it goes Connor drafting first, Eric drafting second, Nate drafting third. I'm picking fourth. And then that snakes around to every round like that. So Connor is going to be first on the board. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can you'll be able to see the master sheets of all the players available. But it's honestly just too much players to name out. Probably well over several hundred players, offense and defense combined to name. So obviously we're not going to be doing that. But the way I pick the players is, for most parts, quarterbacks, no starting quarterbacks, no rookies allowed. Same thing with running backs, wide receivers. I think it was like picking each team had like exposed a receiver. Same thing with tight ends. Some were bad enough they didn't even make the list. And then other ways players were picked get kind of complicated. I won't go into it exactly in every single scenario, but yeah. So the lists are up for all of us to pick from. We all have the same list of players to choose from. So Connor, you're starting off first now, and let this commence the 2021 NFL expansion draft.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. So this was definitely an interesting choice for me to figure out who I was going to draft first, because definitely in my mind, conventional wisdom would say draft a quarterback first. Obviously, it's the most important part of the team, but for me, looking at this quarterback list, none of these guys really stood out to me as being worthy of the first pick. Like, I feel like I can still get a decent quarterback, possibly a little bit later in the draft. And there's some guys at some other positions that I think I was willing to get. So one of the ones where I think I have a good guy that I want to take, and I think it's one of the weaker position groups, but I think this guy is, definitely one of the top guys in the group. So I want to get him now. He's going to be the main focal point of my offense going forward, and I'm going to grab Kenyon Drake with the first pick. He almost rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Showed some flashes of brilliance in Arizona. Dual threat back. I think he's going to be a great cornerstone.
All right, so you would never see this nowadays in the NFL draft, but a running back going first overall. That's interesting. Eric, you've got the next pick now. Kenyon Drake is off the board.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do similar as Connor here. I'm also gonna take a skill position player first. I'm not gonna take a quarterback yet. I am going to take who I feel is the best wide receiver in the draft, and I'm going to take Marvin Jones.
Ooh,
sorry.
When you said best receiver, that's not who I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, there might be a couple who some people might consider better, but
I like Marvin Jones.
No, I like him. I like him too. But knowing Eric, there's someone else who I thought he was going to say was the best.
Yeah, I'm going with him.
All right, and that means Nate is up with the third pick now.
All right, so yeah, that was I wasn't totally sure what to expect with the first two picks there to see who would be around still after that. But I think seeing the direction things are going, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stick with the wide receiver position here, and I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go with actually Marquez Valdez Scantling from Green Bay.
Interesting.
I think,
All right,
given the chance to be number one, he could be pretty special.
All right, Marquez Valdez Scantling there. Nate's first pick. Right now, I'm jumping up and down because I was worried and I really didn't like any of my other choices. So I'm going to go the traditional route and take a quarterback first. And this is a quarterback that I actually have hopes of building the team around. I'm hoping that he can be the long-term starter, at least for the first couple seasons, and not just the placeholder. And the quarterback to me that I'm going to be taking, it makes sense too, going to Oregon, but I'm going to take Marcus Mariota, the backup for Vegas right now. He showed some flashes in the time that he played last season with the Raiders, and I think under a new system, wait, hold on, the control thing is not working out well there. I'll just type his name, but anyways, Marcus Mariota, I think he's the best quarterback by far on this list, so that's why I wanted to get him. And also, too, I bring him back to Oregon as well. Nice little for the fans of the Oregon Ducks that they get their quarterback going back to their state. With not maybe not value pick because this is second round, so this is still high up there. But I'm gonna go offensive line, and I'm gonna take Frank Ragnow, the center from the Detroit Lions. Made the All-Pro team actually in 2020, so that's why I'm getting him as the center for the team. An All-Pro offensive lineman and Pro Bowler is what I want, especially under center now with Mariota, the guy handing off to him. So grabbing a center in round 2, Frank Ragnow from Detroit.
Mhm.
And Nate, you are now back up on the clock.
All right, so I think I'm gonna, I think kind of follow Zach here and going with the O-line pick. I think there's a lot of good value there. I think I'm gonna go with where I just had him on my screen here. I'm gonna take sorry, things freezing up now. I'm gonna take there it is. I'm gonna take Brian Balaga at right tackle. That's the guy I think's been around a while and has a good track record. And I think a lot of those guys are kind of older, but I think he's still got some
juice left in him.
Yeah, some juice left. I was looking for there.
All right.
I will say Packers fans have gotten a lot of hate from us on this podcast, but y'all got to be loving Nate right now.
Yep.
Yeah, Nate. Well, actually, they might not be loving him if he just stole 2 of their players, or I guess
Balaga's not on there.
Balaga's off.
Yeah,
he's
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They got to be loving that he's acknowledging them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Right.
Eric, you went with the Jaguar and Marvin Jones in the first round. Where are you going to go with this second pick now?
AJ Can. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
Cam Robinson.
Make it Tim Tebow next.
I will say Zach and Nate both made me nervous going O-line because there was one in particular that I really wanted to get. But while Frank Ragnow was one I was eyeing, he wasn't my number one. I'm going to take Joel Bitonio out of Cleveland.
Eric, you suck.
Sorry, man. I had to do it, man. I had to go ahead and start anchoring my offensive line. I feel like by far that he's the best one remaining, and I feel like it was like him and Ragnow were like the top 2 in my opinion. So like once one was gone, I for sure had to get my other one that I really wanted to get. So I'm happy to scoop him up here in the second round.
All right, Connor, take a minute to regroup now and figure out. You've got 2 picks back to back.
I know what I want to do with both of them. So this first pick, I'm going to take a wide receiver with this first pick. It's who I think is probably the best receiver on this list. And he's very young. I think he's going to be a good cornerstone going forward. I'm going to take. This is who I thought that Eric was going to say was the best receiver. I'm going to take Michael Gallup.
Yeah, he was high on the board. He wasn't far behind Marvin Jones, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So then with my second pick, I was planning to take Joel Bitonio, but Eric took him off me. But I am still going to go offensive line here. And this guy, another big guard, in my opinion, it was really between him and Bitonio for who I thought was the best guard in this class. But he's still very good. He's going to open a lot of holes for Kenyon Drake. Nate will like me he might hate me for this depending if he wants him. But from the team he's from, I'm taking Shaq Mason.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's back to me again. All right. So
did Zach disappear?
Zach, are you still here?
Oh dear.
I know we were having problems when we were Skyping last night.
Well, just keep going. I'll take over the reins of control cutting.
It says he's still on the call, but
yeah, I don't know. Just keep going.
Okay. Oh, excuse me. So luckily he's not up for a couple more picks, so we got a minute to get him back in here. But Yeah, so I am going to continue with offensive line, and I'm going to take the center that I want to get, and I'm going to take J.C. Treader.
Very nice, very nice.
Yes,
Cleveland had a good offensive line last year, so it's solid.
for sure. Yeah, I was like, can't go. It's amazing that those were the guys they had to give up.
Right.
Okay, you guys hear me? I'm back
we
yet?
can hear you now, Zach. You're
All right,
good.
cool. Yeah. The sheets was like lagging and I could hear you guys just fine, but you guys couldn't hear me. So
You're good. You're good.
All right, Nate, you are up next now with the next pick here.
All right, so I think I'm going to since it seems like a pretty popular position here, and I want to get it kind of squared away with there's some good guys left. I'm going to stay with O-line here, and I'm going to take Cam Robinson to go on the other side of the O-line here.
Interesting.
Kind of make things easier for whoever I end up taking at QB.
Yeah, still no quarterbacks have gone. Nate gets his second tackle now, so you got 2 tackles now, Nate. Like it. And I am up next actually, so I got to take a look at my board here, figure out what I want. I'm going to go with a wide receiver here. I'm going to take a real young guy, just entering his second year. I'm going to take KJ Hamler. He was a second-round pick for the Broncos, and actually at times looked better than Jerry Jeudy did. So I'm banking on high upside with KJ Hamler as a young target for Marcus Mariota for years to come. And let me go ahead and figure out what my next pick will be. Take a look at rankings. I'm going to go offensive line. I'm going to take Andre Dillard from Philadelphia. I know he hasn't had the start of his career that Eagles fans wanted him to have, and that's why he's on this list. But I see potential in him. He's a young offensive lineman. I think that's very important to have offensive linemen. So I'm going to take my second one here with Dillard and hopefully capitalize on that potential he has. And Nate, you're up next.
All right, so I think I'm gonna go. Gotta get playmaker at running back here. I think there's a lot of these guys are all like kind of young and unproven, but I think the guy I'm gonna go with is Wayne Gallman. I think he showed decently last year with Saquon Barkley out, and I think given the chance on possibly a better team, he could be a solid number 1 there.
All right, Wayne Gallman.
Nate, are you saying the Giants suck?
But Eric, you're their biggest defender. How can you say
that?
No, I'm not saying. Nate said it, not me. That's good.
I wouldn't say suck, but
the Giants fans are going to be real unhappy with that.
Yeah.
Well, better be careful about what Eric says about the Giants, unless he's going to be sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Susan heard nothing. Okay. All right. So, yes, back to me. And I am, oh man, trying to figure out exactly how I want to play this. All right. I'm going to get me a strong veteran guy here, and I'm going to get who I think is the best tight end available, and I'm going to take Zach Ertz.
First tight end to go off the board, Zach Ertz now to Eric. Couple Eagles players drafted now so far. Connor, you have the first of your back-to-backs now.
Yeah, so I'm going to go offensive line with both of these picks. I definitely, the offensive linemen are going, so I want to really shore up my tackle spot right now. So both of these picks, I'm going to get my left tackle and my right tackle back-to-back here. So for right, I'm going to go ahead and get Cornelius Lucas from the Washington football team. Had a very strong year, opening up holes for Antonio Gibson. Washington football team also, they were one of the top teams when it came to offensive line last year. So he was much improved. And then at the left tackle spot, I'm going to go ahead and take Donovan Smith from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady didn't get often last year. He was one of the big reasons behind that. Tampa Bay's offensive line really stepped up last year, so hopefully I'm going to have some good protection for whichever quarterback I take, and also open up some holes for Kenyon Drake.
Alrighty, yep. Eric, you've got the next pick now, man.
All right, so for me, I'm going to finish off the interior of my offensive line, and Chiefs fans, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, but I'm drafting Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. I probably pronounced that wrong. But I felt like the right guard spots were pretty thin, so I feel like by far out of the right guards that were available, he was the best one. So I'm going to happily snag him onto my team.
All right. And his name was too long for me to type in the sheet, so I just did his last name.
I would say LDT.
LDT, that could work, yeah, but most people don't know what that is. It's not like OBJ.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, Nate, you've got the next pick here in the 5th round.
I'm going to go one more time over to O-line, I think, before I start addressing some more positions. But I'm going to take David Andrews at center.
Is that the first New England player Nate's taken so far?
That is.
I
had to get one at least.
I took the best New England player on the board, so he had to get the second best.
Yeah. All right, David Andrews there to Nate. Let's see. With my next pick here,
having back-to-backs is so much fun, isn't it, Zach?
Yeah. It's nervous though, waiting in between that long wait though. Like
it really is.
So I'm gonna get a running back here. It's tough actually. My top 2 running backs I actually still have on the board. So now I'm just deciding. It's very close between them. So I really got to think pros and cons here, but I'm going to end up going with A.J. Dillon from the Packers. He's their backup. But another guy who's just entering his 2nd season, which with running backs, that's important. He doesn't have a whole lot of miles on him, but when he did play, he played really well for the Packers. And I think he's going to – I honestly was surprised they brought back Aaron Jones because of how high expectations A.J. Dillon has for him. And I know Packers fans are very high on him, and they're excited for him now to be the full-time backup for them this season. But in this expansion, I wanted to get him, so I did. So that takes care of my running back situation. Offensive line is definitely not great, I will say. My lists are running thin. I'm going to go guard, though. I'm going to go with Andrus Peat from New Orleans Saints as my left guard here. He did well enough to get a nice contract extension, and the Saints have always had a good offensive line. He's a part of that. So getting a Saints offensive lineman for me, very happy to do that. And Nate, you are now back up on the clock as well.
All right, so I'm going to try and go after a tight end here. I think I'm going to go with all these guys are kind of risky, but I'm going to take O.J. Howard from the Bucks. I think he's still a pretty young guy, and he's obviously got the physical measurements for it. I think he could be a pretty good breakout player there.
All right, the second tight end so far to go in this draft had Zach Ertz to Eric earlier. Now O.J. Howard to Nate. And Eric, you are back up on the clock.
All right. All right, so I'm going to go wide receiver again. I already drafted Marvin Jones, who's a nice tall receiver, and now I'm going to get me another tall receiver, but who's younger. And I'm going to take Juju Smith-Schuster off the board.
I'm surprised he took him after how bad he was for you in fantasy.
Well, he was bad for me in fantasy, but see, I think the problem for him is that, like, after Antonio Brown left, they had these expectations of him to be like a number one guy and all this stuff. But I think with my team having Marvin Jones and Zach Ertz, like he's not going to have that pressure. And so he's still relatively young. So I feel like he's still got something to prove, I think. So he should be hungry coming to a new team. I think he's going to put up some nice numbers for the Alamos here.
All right, Connor, your first of your back-to-backs here.
All right, so first of the back-to-back, I'm going to go one more time. I know this won't complete my offensive line, but I want to get this guy while he's still here. I need a center. I'm going to grab Eric McCoy from the New Orleans Saints. I know Zach saying, got to get those. New Orleans has a good offensive line, so to get offensive linemen from there. Then, okay, I want to go wide receivers with this pick, so I just need to figure out which one, because I'm probably going to go with, I forgot to look up how old this guy was, but so I'm actually going to go with this guy. He's been a little bit quiet. He was quiet last year, but he had a couple good years in Atlanta playing next to Julio Jones. And, like Eric was talking about with Juju, a nice tall receiver. I'm going to go with Mohamed Sanu as my second receiver.
All right, Mohamed Sanu going to Connor. Let me go ahead and put that up here. Wide receiver 2. All right, and then Eric, you are back up on the board.
All right, so the offensive line list is definitely running down. I don't have any tackles yet. This O-lineman had a pretty bad injury recently, so which is probably why he's fallen this far. But I'm just going to go ahead and draft him and hope that he can get at least close to his old form 100%. But I want to take former Chiefs tackle Eric Fisher off the board as my left tackle.
Eric picking an Eric.
I had to.
How predictable. All right.
I took a Zach first, okay?
All right. That's true.
Does that mean you're going to take a Connor next?
Maybe.
Connor Williams? Anyone? All right.
Connor Williams is going to move to my right tackle.
All right, Nate, you are up on the board now in the 7th round.
All right, so I'm going to take a guy here at wide receiver. I'm surprised that in this hypothetical situation that the Giants put him up for selection. I'm going to go with Darius Slayton from at wide receivers.
Nate's
super young
taking
guy.
Them Giants players.
Right.
All right, Slayton going as the next wide receiver to pair along with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. All right, so I'm going to be up next. I'm going to go to the offensive line here on my first pick. I'm going to take a right tackle, George Fant from the Jets. Surprisingly, he was actually a bright spot on the Jets offensive line. He's nowhere near the best, but he will do just fine for now. I'm confident with Marcus Mariota back there with George Fant on the right side that he'll do a good enough job to protect him. And then with my second pick in the back-to-backs, I feel like I need to go wide receiver now because I only have one, and I know they're flying off the board. So let me take a look at my list here. I'm going to take a guy who's had injuries, and he's getting a little bit up there, but I still think he has some stuff left in him. I'm going to take T.Y. Hilton from the Colts. I think he can contribute to the team, and it's good to have a veteran wide receiver, especially since I drafted KJ Hamler earlier, who's only entering his second year. So taking a veteran there with T.Y. And Nate, you're back up on the board.
All right, so I'm going to go back to O-line here. I have a couple more positions to fill, and I'm going to go with John Feliciano from the Bills at left guard. That's somebody that Brian Dable has worked pretty well with in the past few years.
That's true, getting the coach and player connection there. Forgot about that. right.
All right, Eric.
All righty. So for my next pick, I think I will go ahead and take my quarterback now. And I've been drafting a lot of veteran guys for the most part, but the reason why I did that was because I figured I would draft a young quarterback. And so I want to have as much veteran talent around this QB as possible. Now, this is definitely going to be a risk because he's never played a snap in the NFL yet, but he was a first-round draft pick. So I'm going to take Jordan Love off of the Packers' hands.
Ooh.
All right. The second quarterback has gone now. Jordan Love to Eric's team in San Antonio. So that's interesting for sure. Connor, or I think, wait, no. Am I up next?
I'm next.
No.
Connor's next. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. All right, Connor, go
Jeez,
ahead.
man, trying to steal my picks over here.
Yep. I'll pay extra money for it. I got that extra anchor money.
All right, so I'm going to go my next pick. I feel like I need to get a tight end just because I feel like this is a bit weak. And definitely Nate took. I wanted to get O.J. Howard earlier, and Nate took him. So that sucked. But I'm going to go with really good tight end. He's a great target, and he's also young. Like, I want to get some more young players. And so I'm going to take David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns.
Dang it. That's the guy I really wanted. Should have snagged him earlier, but
I know. Trust me, I wouldn't have gotten him if Nate hadn't stolen O.J. Howard from me, so blame Nate.
Yeah.
I will.
I will. All right, so then it's my last pick here. Well, it's not my last pick, but last pick of the back-to-back. Definitely now I think is the time for me to get a quarterback. And this was probably the hardest for me to try and determine like who I wanted to get, just because I feel like all these guys are terrible. And even like the young guys, because like I would think I'd want to take a young quarterback, but like there's no real good young ones. I'm definitely not taking Mason Rudolph. But I guess if I have to take a veteran quarterback, I want to take one who I think probably can stick around a little bit longer than some of the other guys. Because some of the guys like, Andy Dalton, who I think maybe are slightly better, maybe like Andy Dalton, he's getting up there in age, so I don't want to take him. So I'm going to go ahead and take Teddy Bridgewater as my quarterback.
Teddy Bridgewater going to another team. He's starting to become the next Ryan Fitzpatrick now.
Teddy Two Gloves.
Yep. Teddy Two Cities in 1 year. Gloves.
Whoa.
Dang.
All right. We'll see if he sticks the whole year with Connor and St. Louis. Was that your second pick, Connor? Or
yeah,
your
that was
first
my second pick.
Okay. Yeah, you got Njoku. Remember that. All right, Eric. 9th round here. What's your next pick going to be?
All right. So for my wide receiver core, I've drafted two like taller guys to mainly for my outside role, and then now I'm going to draft. I did want to get T.Y. Hilton, but thanks a lot, Zach, for that snipe. But I do have a similar option I can go with. So I'm going to get me a smaller, like deep threat speedster guy, and I'm going to take John Brown off the board.
Ooh, Smoke.
Right.
That's his nickname.
Yes.
I know this because, my dad knows the nicknames of all the former Bills players, so.
Yes.
Maybe you can have a little graphic or a animation thing of the smoke coming out of the Alamo when he scores.
Yeah.
From the cannons or something.
Giving me a good idea there.
There's a marketing suggestion, yeah, certainly. All right.
I think you're gonna owe Zach some royalties for that one.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
This is recorded right now, so
let me
all right, Nate.
Go copyright that real quick.
Nate, while Eric goes and does that, you've got the next pick.
All right, so I think it's not a super great bunch here, but I think before everyone goes for the rest of the quarterbacks, I'm gonna try and snag one here.
We've all got one, so.
Oh really? Oh, I was just scroll
That's
up the list
true,
all the way. Okay, that makes more sense. That's um. So actually, then, if there's no rush, I will go with my last running back here and take. I'm gonna go with,
Last running back?
or yeah, I think I have one more running back to take
No,
still, or no?
it's two.
Is it?
There's 3 wide receivers, only 1 running back.
Yeah.
Oh, I had it mixed out. I was like 2 and 2, like
Oh, no,
in
no, no,
fantasy.
no.
So, yeah, then actually in that case, I'm going back to wide receiver. And I'm gonna take, um, out of this bunch, I think I'm gonna go with, um, Golden Tate here. He's kind of older, but I think it'd be good to have a, veteran guy around there.
All right. Golden Tate is the third receiver for Nate's team. Tate on Nate's team. I like that sound. All right. So I've got back-to-back picks here, and then I got the last pick in the draft. So, um, I guess I know what positions I'm going to go with then. Let's see. I think I need a wide receiver, tight end, and offensive guard left. Yep. All right. So go with the wide receiver first. They always like targets, so I'll pick him first. So I'm going to go ahead and take another young guy. I'm going to take Scotty Miller. I know he's somewhere on the
Shocker.
list.
Zach took the Bucks guy.
I did. Um, am I blind or where is he? Because
He's on there somewhere. I mean, I will say, Eric and I have been. I'm the only person here that is not. I am the only person here that is a player from my favorite team.
Hell.
Well, I would have taken Juju had you not taken him. So I will say that.
I thought you might be targeting him at some point, so I had to snag
Yeah.
him.
So.
All right, and then with my next pick here, I'm going to go offensive guard. It's really not looking good, but yeah. Honestly, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These guys aren't going to be good; they're expendable. But I'll go with Mark Glowinski from Indianapolis. He's not Quentin Nelson, but he hopefully has learned a thing or two.
That's an understatement.
Mark Glowinski from the Colts is joining the Oregon Orca. And now it is going to be Nate's pick in the 10th round. Nate, you there?
I heard his mic flip.
Nate.
Oh dear, maybe he's gonna have to
Here we
message you
go.
on Twitter. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Oh man, we don't want to get into this scenario again
Yes.
where it's like,
Sorry,
Oh.
it kind of spaced out for a second, but
It's like a sentence.
yep, there you go.
Just name the pick. Name the pick.
Yeah, just
I'm
say who it
gonna
is.
go round out my. Oh, do you hear me?
Yeah, we
well,
can.
just shout a player's name. Oh no.
Oh, you know? Okay. Yeah. Just I'll go with I. Oh.
Just say a name, man.
Just say the name.
Okay.
Just say the name.
Halvatai at guard.
Okay, all right. There we go.
All right. There we go. That was weird. It was like my Wi-Fi just dropped for a second there.
Of course, like now after you make the pick, we can actually hear you talk.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry about that.
No, dude, it happens, man. It happens.
Oh, that was funny. That was good.
All right, Eric, your second last pick here. Let's take a look at the board. You still need a running back and a tackle.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and snag my running back. I'm gonna get me a younger guy here, and I feel like the team he's been on has been a crowded backfield. So I think coming here where he can be featured is going to be a much better opportunity for him. I also think he's a versatile with both running and pass catching. I like versatility. So I'm going to take Nyheim Hines from the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nyheim Hines going to Eric as his running back. And Connor, you've got your last back-to-back picks here. These will be your final 2 picks for the offensive section of the draft. Let's just take a little look here. You need a wide receiver and a guard.
Yes. So, like you said, the guard class is not great, but through a little PS earlier today, I did manage to find actually a pretty decent right guard here. He had a pretty high grade from what I saw, and he was on a decent offensive line. So I'm going to go with Austin Corbett from the LA Rams. A lot of improvement this year, and I think he's going to pair well with Shaq Mason. I said open up those holes for Kenyon Drake. And then lastly, since I do need a wide receiver here, if it was not as much as I, in my head, think that, might be an interesting idea to take Antonio Brown. I don't want the potential locker room headaches because I think really just being with Tom Brady is what's calmed him down. I feel like if he leaves Tampa Bay, he's just going to go ape again. So with that being said, I'm going to take another young guy. It's a guy that I'm actually oddly familiar with because he was actually on my team in our Madden franchise for the LA Chargers, and I picked him up in free agency, and I'm going to go with Rashard Higgins.
All right. He's on the Browns right now, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I was able to get him in free agency in Madden.
All right. Higgins going to Connor now. Does that round out his 11 offensive starters? And now we will find out Eric's 11th offensive starter.
Yeah, well, since I have offensive line for my last pick, it's not necessarily going to be as exciting as whoever Zach might pick at tight end or Nate might pick at quarterback. But I'm going to take a old Steeler veteran here just to kind of play the right tackle spot for me for a year or two, and I'm going to take Alejandro Villanueva.
Yeah, I knew where that was going. I was like, Alejandro.
Yeah, I just felt like overall out of like all these positions that right tackle was one of the weakest out of all of like the positions. So I was
I think like last. I know when Nate got Balaga and I got like Balaga and Lucas were like one of the only 2 right tackles that I saw had like were good for the most part. The rest of them I was like, eh.
Yeah. All right, Nate, you've got the your last pick here in the 11th round. It's going to be a quarterback, so we're all intrigued to figure out who this will be.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the Red Rifle here, Andy Dalton. Kind of just someone to hold down the fort until we can get a real draft around here.
going for that first pick in the draft. Got to get Sam Howell next season.
Wow, guys, Gardner Minshew disrespected. He wasn't drafted.
Well, you know who was really disrespected? Blake Bortles.
Yep. All right, so the last pick in this draft for the offensive section is going to be made by me. It's going to be a tight end.
Uh-oh. Oh, now Zach's going in and out. Darn.
Who's the tight end that Zach's picking?
I wonder. I mean, there's still some decent ones left on there. I was thinking about, I was looking at Jimmy Graham. I was looking at a couple other ones, but...
It just sounds like in a glitchy Matrix or something.
Yeah.
Dalton Schultz. He took Dalton Schultz.
What? Zach, you didn't take golden ticket Zach Gentry?
No. I wanted Dalton
Schultz. There you go, Zach. You're back. Now you're back.
I left the call and rejoined it. Let me remember to turn share screen back on. All right.
But yeah, you wanted Dalton Schultz, not golden ticket Zach Gentry.
But it was disappointing. He was my 4th out of 4, so I had to settle with that one. But
oh damn!
All right, guys.
We took your top 3.
Yeah, you did.
Dang, dude.
But yeah, that will conclude everybody episode 1 of the expansion draft. Next week we will be back with episode 2 to finalize the defense and give our overall thoughts on the teams. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and until then, remember, be clutch.
Bye.
See ya.
Peace.